Could the Cowboys bring him in to be the Dak's backup if for no other reason than to shake some sense into the negotiations of Dak Prescott to a degree about, hey, man, we love you. We want to keep you. We want to pay you. We want to pay you like you're the 6th or 7th best quarterback in football. But if you demand to be paid like you're Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson, then we're going to have to play the franchise tag game with you and see where it goes. And so that got me thinking, where does Dak actually land amongst the quarterback hierarchy? So let's go ahead and do that. Listen, we all know who the best quarterback in football is. We can show America. He's the defending Super Bowl champion in his first 2 years starting. He's won an MVP. He's won a league MVP. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He's won a championship. His name's Patrick Mahomes. We all know that. He is in a tier by championships, but they all have the accolades of someone you pay back. Those guys, Mahomes and those 5 other guys, you pay anything. This next tier is the trickier one, because if you have one of these guys, you don't want to let them go, but you don't want to pay them like they're a step above. It's Carson Wentz. The Eagles got him locked up to a reasonable deal that is manageable, and you feel good about it. Matt Ryan. The Falcons got him locked up, and you saw Matt Ryan, hey, at his best, you can be up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. Dak, more on him in a moment. Kirk Cousins, who again, that the fully guaranteed part of that deal seemed onerous, but $28 million a year for the new deal with the Vikings, the initial deal with the Vikings, I should say, isn't that awful. And then Stafford's a good example of what happens when you pay a guy in this tier like he is in the GOAT status tier. It holds your team back. And this is the concern with Dak Prescott. Now, he's better than the guys beneath him. And the guys beneath him, you just can't pay huge money or you're screwed. The guys in the tier beneath him, if you pay those guys, and that's Jared Goff, and I think you're going to see that the Rams are in real trouble. Jimmy Garoppolo is in that group of guys. Teddy Bridgewater, who got a reasonable deal. Ryan Tannehill, who got a deal that I think his team will regret. That group of guys, you can't pay huge money. But it's that tier that Dak is in is so tricky. If you have him, you don't want to lose him, but you don't want to pay him like they are Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, because deep down you know he's not. And then there's the final tier. The final tier is impossible to rank right now. It's too old and too young. It's guys on rookie deals or guys on their last NFL contract. I'm not saying all those guys are the worst guys. I'm saying we can't slot them yet. And by the way, there's a half dozen teams who didn't even get a quarterback on here. So if you're a Bears fan, if you're a fan of a team that doesn't see a quarterback, the Chargers, that means your quarterback right now is not even relevant enough to make the pyramid. But Dak's right there in that meaty middle. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are there and you're demanding to be paid like you're a tier or two above, it's going to end up putting your team in a position where they're having to make a decision like, do I bring in Jameis Winston to see if Dak will come to his financial senses? Do I risk rolling the dice with consecutive franchise tags, even if it means him walking out the door? Because eventually, because what you can't do is pay the 7th or 8th best quarterback in football like he's the best quarterback in football. That is 100% of the time a recipe for disaster. How about Joy Taylor with the news?
No.
Turn on the news.
This is the Herdline News.
Okay, I can't hear anything, so I'm assuming its music has stopped playing, and I'm going to go. So the Patriots continue to show their support for quarterback George Stidham. Running back James White is the latest player to stand by Stidham as the starter next season. But he would also be okay if Hoyer won the job. He said expectations don't change. We are confident in Stidham. We are confident in Hoyer. So there's just the list keeps growing of Patriots players who keep pushing out this, I don't want to call it an agenda, but, you know, they're giving this endorsement for Stidham. This is the first time Hoyer's really been mentioned, but everybody keeps coming out saying that Stidham's a good guy and that, you know, everybody's behind him if that's the way it ends up going. The Athletics' Jeff Howe said signing Brady was plan 1A, but now plan 1B is in effect, and Stidham is very likely to open the 2020 season as New England's starting quarterback. He started the show talking about the possibility of Tua going there. I kind of see this, while that would be insane, although I don't know if insane is the right word, because the Patriots somehow managed to cool this kind of these moves, and somehow they end up on top no matter what happens. They lose Brady and then they get Tua. But I think this is more of a drawn-out plan for next year with Belichick.
Well, listen, I think Belichick believes they can win the division with anyone playing quarterback, given the defense, his schematic edge, and if we're being honest, the other quarterbacks in that division. When it's Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, whomever Miami ends up trotting out there. So I don't think they're punting on the season. But in regards to Stidham as franchise quarterback, Tom Brady, obviously a 6th-round pick, super-duper star, greatest quarterback of all time. Since Brady, here are your top 3 4th-round picks or later at the quarterback position. It is Dak Prescott, who has turned himself into a hell of a player, Kirk Cousins, a wonderful success story, and the bronze medalist for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th-round pick post-Brady is David Garrard. Joy, the lesson there is if you're attaching your hopes to a 4th-round pick, the odds are overwhelming that he is exactly what you drafted him to be, a backup quality quarterback. So maybe he can be a stopgap, but this idea that the Patriots have the Brady heir apparent in Stidham, I just don't think history or the facts are on their side. What else we got?
Well, speaking of that, the Patriots have dominated the AFC East for the last 20 years with Brady, but with Brady gone, Bills GM Brandon Beane isn't counting New England out. He said, I think it's comical that people are writing off the Patriots. The team to beat in the division is the Pats as long as Belichick is there. Until we beat them, we've done nothing. Now, I always look at the psychology of a statement like that. We're just kind of like, let's not put any extra pressure on ourselves this year. Patriots are still the team to beat. When in reality, in my opinion, the Bills are the team to beat now. Tom Brady's gone. We don't know what Jarrett Stidham is, but I certainly feel better about the future of the Bills in their current state, a playoff team last year, to run the AFC East for at least the next 3 years. I love the moves that the Dolphins have made, but we don't know who their quarterback is yet. And we don't know what Jarrett Stidham is, but Tom Brady, everyone was, you included, were not believing in him last year. And even though the Patriots have a system that ran through Tom Brady, you can't just replace Tom Brady with Jarrett Stidham, even if Jarrett Stidham turns out to be great. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. Whether he is playing at the highest level or not, there's so much experience and leadership. That's not feasible to me. The Bills are the team to beat in the AFC East right now, to me. But according to Fox Stats, the Patriots are still the favorite in the AFC East at plus 105, and the Bills are stuck in at plus 150.
Here's where I would push back with the Joy. It's not that I think Stidham is going to be able to replace Brady's production, his IQ, any of it, even though I was down on Brady last year. If the defense maintains, then they're fine no matter what. If the Patriots last season scored 15 points in every game all year, they would have been 11-5. 11-5 and won the division if they scored 15 points every game all season. So, and how many games did they win? They won 12, so one more game. It was the game where they, I think they needed to score 18 to win that one when they allowed 17 points. And so the point is, I think this is a defense coaching edge more than anything. And the other reason I can't yet buy into the Bills is Josh Allen still scares the hell out of me, man. Like, I know that he showed some improvement and he cut down on the turnovers, but he still almost blinded a few concessionaires with errant deep balls. And so I can't pick the Bills yet because the Josh Allen factor scares me too much, even though I think McDermott's excellent and I really like their defense as a whole. And by the way, adding Stephon Diggs pretty damn good as well. What else you got?
Yeah, Josh Allen scares me too, but I'm also looking at the situation currently in the environment that we are in, and they're bringing, their quarterback and coach back and most of their team. So
That's a good point.
Give them a slight edge with that as well. So finally, the NFL is still working out its plan for the draft later this month, and they are reportedly considering 2 different scenarios. So the first is for teams to operate out of their club facilities with limited personnel and rigorous cleaning requirements. So this would allow teams to pick an off-site location to hold a draft room as long as they follow the same health and safety guidelines they would at their own facilities. The second option is for everyone to work remotely, which would require all club personnel to conduct draft operations from their personal residences in isolation. So apparently the Saints were currently planning to have their draft operations at a local brewery, and staff members would be spread out over a large room, and they'd only be allowed in after their temperature was taken. I am guessing that it's going to end up being that everyone has to work remotely, because in order to make it fair for each organization, everyone has to have the same setup. You can't have some guys that are in the same room and then some guys who are working over Zoom or Skype or, a conference call or whatever. So being that some places in the country are hotter than others, I'm guessing it's going to end up being everyone works remotely.
And by the way, there's no problem for the NFL drafted everyone working remotely. Those of us that are fortunate enough right now that despite all the craziness going on in the country during the coronavirus pandemic, those of us that are fortunate enough to still have jobs understand all of a sudden something I hadn't heard of 4 weeks ago now has become a incredibly important part of my life, and that's Zoom. So these teleconferences, super easy to use. Right now, literally, as I speak, 1 floor down from me in my house, my 14-year-old daughter is taking high school classes via Zoom. My 6-year-old daughter figured out how to do it this morning to have a little Skype or Zoom chat with some of her friends. Like, guys, we can do the draft via Zoom. It's not perfect, but the NFL has been very fortunate that while this pandemic has hit, it sounds odd to say they've been fortunate, but let me rephrase it. If we were going to deal with this awful situation, for the NFL, it hit in the perfect part of their calendar. Hit in the part of their calendar that can be done via wireless internet, via telephone, and via television, radio, or internet. Like, you don't have to have any in-person contact right now. It's not during your season. It's not during your training camp. Hell, it wasn't even during the combine. And so, Joy, I agree with you 100%. You can't say, well, the Kansas City Chiefs can all get together because Kansas City right now is not a hot spot, but the teams in the Northeast all have to work remotely. Everyone can work remotely, and if anything, Joy, what I would say is, and I don't know what you think about this, but you maybe extend some of the time that is allotted between each pick because of the potential communication delay. I think that would make sense, and I think that would work just fine, Joy.
Yeah, I would absolutely allot for a few extra minutes, or, each team gets a bumper in case, the internet drops or something like that. They're going to have to, take that into consideration, because obviously we all know stuff just stops working sometimes and there's no explanation for it. But yeah, I mean, it's the safest thing you do. It's the fairest thing you do if you believe in fair, which I really don't, but they're going to try and make it as fair as possible for everyone. And yeah, we're in unprecedented times. We're all just trying to make it work. And the draft used to literally all be done over the phone. So this isn't really that unprecedented.
Of course. It's Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
And now we go to the Mercedes-Benz hotline. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing, to my good friend, and I want to tell America this, one of the single kindest human beings I've ever met in my life. We argue somewhat, but only when he's wrong about hoops. He's the great Chris Broussard. Chris, how's it going, my man? How are you?
I'm great. I don't think we've ever had an argument then. You get that?
Oh, I get it. That's funny. All right, speaking of things you're wrong about, I listed I think Bleacher Report did the top 25 players in the NBA under 25 years old. I gave my top 10 Off the top of my head, I think I had Luka 1, of course, Zion 2, Ja 3. It then gets a little tougher. Donovan Mitchell, I believe, 4. Jason Tatum, 6. I know you took some issue with some of my placement. What's your issue with what honestly is an unimpeachable list by me?
Well, first of all, Zion's way too high. I love his potential like everybody else, but people are overlooking the warts in his game. Number one, he doesn't defend at all. And I get it. These guys are young. A lot of them don't defend. But his defense is horrible. And he's not rebounding like he should be. He's giving me 6 rebounds a game. I need more than that. He's somewhat, he's great in the post. He's obviously a quick jumper, and that's his strength. But, he doesn't have a ton of moves down there. He's always spinning to his left. We know what he's going to do. He obviously doesn't shoot the 3 yet. So I'm saying to have him second right now is way too high. And Jason Tatum is way too low. My top 5 would be Zion at number 5. Karl Anthony Towns. How much are you disrespecting Karl Anthony Towns? This guy gives you 25 and 10 a night, if not 11. I know he doesn't defend much, but he's a 40% career shooter from 3. He is still under 25, so he's number 4 on my list. Ja Morant. In a point guard league, this guy has taken a team that last year, it's essentially the same team that was horrible last year, and he's got them in the playoffs in the West. His numbers are great. He plays good defense. And then number 2 is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Is this just go along with your hate Celtics narrative or what? What is your problem with Jason Tatum? He shoots the 3 ball outstanding. He's great in the mid-range. His handle is great. He can finish at the rim over anybody. He's long and rangy so he can defend. He plays within the Celtics system. Like, what's not to love about Jason Tatum?
Nothing. He's awesome. That's why he's the 6th best guy under 25. But hold on, I gotta address so many things you just said there. First, let me start.
You got Luka right. I'll give you that.
Let me start with Zion, Broussard. You said all these things he can't do. Oh, he's not doing this well enough. He doesn't do this well enough. He averages almost a point a minute on 59% shooting. He's scoring 24 a game. It's not projection. If he never improves, Broussard, if this is who he is the rest of his life, if he's 24-7 on 60% shooting, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So the Zion thing's crazy. Karl Anthony Towns.
Hold on.
Here's the thing with Towns.
24-7 is a first ballot Hall of Famer? If he was a center, if a big man who usually shoots 60% from the floor and give me 20 points, but we're only giving me 7 rebounds, how's that outstanding? I need more.
Okay. All right. Listen, you're wrong, but that's fine. And I don't know, maybe you just don't like Zennials. You're anti-19-year-old something. It's insane. Towns was the hardest one to slot, and I'll be quick here. Towns' numbers say he should be number 2. I mean, he was 27-11 a few years ago, 41% from 3, as you mentioned. The problem is his teams stink, and his teammates seem to hate him. I don't know how to wrap my arms around that. Like, the one time they were good was when Jimmy Butler was there, and Jimmy Butler left and despised him, it would appear. So that's my only issue with Towns. But as far as Tatum, can we please... Tatum's fine. In fact, he's more than fine. Just one player of the month. He's really, really good. Can we please assign all this love Jason Tatum's getting and give it to the guy who deserves it in Donovan Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell, who has been the best or second best player on a playoff team every year of his career. Donovan Mitchell, who once again is going about his business, being the go-to guy on what might be a 50-win team. Donovan Mitchell, who his rookie season in a closeout playoff game against Paul George and Russell Westbrook scored 38 points to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. All this disrespect for Donovan Mitchell. Jason Tatum is having a really, really nice season, and he is potentially a future star. But all 5 guys ahead of him, Simmons, Mitchell, Ja, Zion, and Luka, 4 of them are better than him right now. Ja's not better than him yet, but I think will be. I mean,
Zion's
to me,
better than
this
him
is
right
easy.
now? Zion is better
Yes,
than Jason Tatum
absolutely.
right now? Nick,
Yes.
there's more to the
Yes, he
game
is.
than just scoring and scoring in one way. No, Tatum's much more versatile than Zion. And I like Donovan Mitchell. I'm not, everything you said is true. I like my guys a little more efficient. He can be a bit of a volume shooter at times. And so I clearly think Jason Tatum's much better than him. Wrapping out my top 10, because I saw your list, Mitchell 6, Trae Young 7, Devin Booker 8. Ben Simmons is falling. He's number 9, and Brandon Ingram 10. Regrets to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I'd have De'Aaron Fox in there, but we don't have to get into it anymore. Zion, I actually think is an excellent off-ball defender, but let's not get lost in the weeds there anymore. Let's talk about a list. Yeah, let's talk about a list we agree on, which is the 4 greatest college basketball players of all time are Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton, Oscar Robertson, and Bill Russell. And listen, these kids voted Michael Jordan number 1. You don't think they should have, and I give you credit for that because Jordan's not even in the top 20 college basketball players of all time. But you do understand this is partially your fault, right? Because you have been part of spreading the gospel of Jordan. He never lost. He never lost. He's the greatest this. He's the greatest that. He was playing baseball while scoring 55 a game. You understand that the reason Jordan won this poll is partially because of your propaganda, right, Broussard?
I tell the truth, Nick, right? And you know that. Michael Jordan is the GOAT, period, the end. But he's not even in the conversation for college's best player of all time. I'll give you that. But how in the world is talking about Michael Jordan's greatness as an NBA player make me responsible for this? His greatness as an NBA player is unimpeachable, Nick. I know you don't want to go down this route of arguing LeBron and Michael because I've beaten you on that several times. I don't want to do it again because I love you.
It's not about LeBron. It's just about telling the full story of Jordan. Like, yeah, he never missed the playoffs, but those first 3 years in the league when they made the playoffs, they were below 500, including a year they won 30 games, were 30-52 and made the playoffs, and he was 1-9 in his career in the playoffs before Scotty got there. It's telling the story that, the Bulls wouldn't have won 8 straight because we know that because they got beat by the Magic in the playoffs. It's just telling the full story. That's
Nick,
all. But quickly, before you go,
wouldn't you admit that him playing a year and a half of baseball and then coming back and playing 17 games in the NBA, he was not even close to his best? Wouldn't you admit that? I don't hold the
I do.
Second round against him.
I know. No, I would admit that. And listen, I'm weird. I just prefer for my greatest athletes in the history of their sport to actually play their sport uninterrupted and not quit twice before actually retiring. But that's me. Like, listen, I'm odd like that. Maybe you'd like LeBron more if he stopped for a year and went and tried to play on the PGA Tour and then came back. But that's just me. I'd love to get to these other things, but I can't. You were wrong too often, so we argued too much. Broussard and Rob Parker, it is an extraordinary radio show, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, Fox Sports Radio and iHeartRadio. You can see him all over television, except for he refuses to come on my show anymore. I don't know why. I love you, Brew. I'll talk to you soon, my man. You guys heard, but the best just got even better. Tell you what I mean next. Nick Wright in for Colin on the Herd.